We're jumping to one chapter, Matthew 6. She's going to read verse 1 through 4. And let's see. Okay, the next one, we need to read it, but it's got a, let's see. Miss Melinda, you read chapter 6, verse 5 through 11. And then Brooke, you'll do verse 12 through 18. You two will sort of read together. And let's see, then Sherry's going to be doing 19 through 21, chapter 6, 19 through 21. And let's see, Miss Darlene, you're going to do verse 22 through 24, 22 through 24. And let's see, Wilma, you're going to do 25 through 30. So we're talking about being disciplined here this morning. It is obvious that the word discipline is related to the words disciple and discipleship. By definition, the word discipline, as it is used in this lesson, means training, and we need to get trained. I mean, yeah. When I got saved, I had to be trained. I didn't know anything about church, didn't know what you did, what you're supposed to do. I just sort of had to come get along and watch what everybody was doing and find out what I was supposed to do. But it's training that corrects, and we do need correction. All of us do, right? Molding, we need to be molded in the right form. Or perfects the mental faculties or moral character. And we need our character molded to the right thing, right? Everybody needs to have integrity. Yeah. Specifically, the individual the one who's seriously committed to being a disciple of Jesus is being molded by Christ in likeness to the spiritual and moral character of Christ. So if we're seriously committed, some people take things, I'm going to do this, whatever it is, and they're all hot and ready to roll, and then, a week later you can't find them. I've had people come right to our church, want to come up, and they want to do this. They give you a job they want to do, then you can't find them a week or two later. So the job ain't getting done. They wasn't committed. They wasn't molded in the right form. This is done by the Spirit of Christ dwelling in the born-again believer and by the instruction of the words and examples of Jesus himself. And that, where do we get that? Right out of the book here. The result of this is a Christ-disciplined life, a life governed by the words, example, and Holy Spirit of Christ. All right. This lesson is based on the second of the 3 chapters on Jesus' Sermon on the Mount in Matthew's Gospel. Christian scholars regard the Sermon on the Mount as a summary of the moral and ethical teachings of Jesus. Now, he says a lot on that Sermon on the Mount. And did he just say it to be saying it? No. He had something behind that. Okay. He repeated in other settings on other occasions. Because the Sermon on the Mount is a summary of the moral and ethical teachings of Jesus, it's very important to know. However, many people, when looking at the Sermon on the Mount, they seem to never get past Beatitudes, and we talked about them last week. They go to a certain point, and they don't go on. And a lot of people maybe do that on a lot of things. They'll go by part of a scripture, but they don't go the whole thing. I mean, it all counts. It all counts. To compensate for this deficiency, this unit of study contains 3 lessons on the sermon. All right. Well, that's something, ain't it? To have 3 lessons on a sermon. And everybody's used to getting a sermon one time, right? And ain't no actual backup study to it. Okay, let's see here. Megan, you go ahead and read your verses 1 through 4. Chapter 6 of Matthew. Matthew chapter 6.
Take heed that ye do not your alms before men to be seen of them, otherwise ye have no reward of your Father which is in heaven. Therefore, when thou doest thine alms, do not sound a trumpet before thee, as the hypocrites do in the synagogues and in the streets, that they may have glory of men. Verily I say unto you, they have their reward. But when thou doest alms, let not thy left hand know what thy right hand doeth, that thine alms may be in secret, and thy Father which seeth in secret himself shall reward thee openly.
Okay, so it's talking about giving unselfishly. And when you give your alms or your money, your tithes, money that you pay into the church, it's not who waves it in a big. I've got $100 bill here. Here, Melinda, get this $100 bill. You can do that, but your reward was given right then. The Bible said so. Among the pious Jews, oh yeah, there's pious people too. They think they're better than everybody else. The giving of alms to help widows and orphans. I think a lot of times people forget about people that's in need, that have actually no way of even helping themselves. And, if those that have the ability to, supposed to be trying to help these people out. Can we help everybody out? No, you can't. But you can help. There's some people you can help. If it ain't but one, you can help them. What would it be if everybody just got one person and helped them? That'd be a big deal, wouldn't it? It'd be a giant deal. I mean, you'd be surprised the people that wouldn't be needing nothing if we could do something like that. Sign, okay, this one's yours. You help take care of them. Then you take care of this one. And, I seen a movie one time, and it's funny, the name of it was Dave. And y'all seen that? It's an older movie. And this guy, the president, has a stroke, and he's in the coma, and Dave's identical lookalike. And he gets in there, and he goes into the meetings, and these political things. And they get in there, and Lord, they can't. You know how they fight? All of them fight, okay? And they can't. None of them agree with nothing, okay? I'll say okay if nobody else does. Okay, Dave gets his buddy to pull in a Subaru. It's blowing smoke, and he wouldn't let him into the White House, but they did. And he gets out a legal pad. And he said, okay, now, here's the deal. Okay, we're needing this. And in our head, all down, they wrote down was going to take, and they take care of all these problems and couldn't take care of not one of them. In 1 hour, they wrote it down and got together, and that's the way we ought to be able to do. But now, it took Dave to start. I like that because the name of that movie. But it was good, though. It was good. It was good. I liked it. Yeah. Kevin Kline's Dave. Yeah, it's good. Okay, in Jesus' time, some made a public display of this giving to receive praise from people for their generosity. And that's the same way it is today, really. Jesus said this praise was their reward for such giving, and their only reward because God will not reward such self-centered giving. You know, if they're trying to raise money for something, and this fellow says, I'll give $5,000 if somebody will match it. I don't call that really giving. He had the money to give. Why didn't he just give it? And I know what they was trying to do. I don't see that. And plus, everybody's seen what he's doing. I'll give $5,000. And most people ain't got $5,000, so they couldn't match it anyway. Individuals who give to gain the applause of the people show a lack of faith in God. And they probably don't think about that. I don't know. Would you think it's like it's all about me, and what people's going to think about me? Yeah, probably, I think. Their attitude says they doubt God will reward them satisfactorily for their giving. Well, let me tell you something. If you give $10, $100, or $1,000, God's going to bless you for what you've done. And God knows what you can do. Now, if you give 10 and you could give a lot more than that, he's also going to take care of that. You need to do what you can do, and that's all you can do. And God knows what you can do. You know, we can hide the checkbook from everybody, but you can't hide it from God. Yeah. Therefore, they must obtain for themselves the immediate reward of being recognized and praised by people. And you got people like that. This attitude of unbelief is an offense to God and the reason why he will not reward such faithless giving. Jesus taught that giving should be free from selfish motives. So in other words, you ain't giving for nothing for yourself. You're giving for something or somebody else. And that's when God comes in and blesses you. I know when I first started preaching, I went up to Oak Drive Mission. It's a little church up here. It's been there for years. And I go in there, and I had $5 in my pocket. And I'm the one preaching there that day. So I go in there and preach. The $5 in my pocket was, I was going to buy me something to eat. It was on Sunday. And they took up the offering pan. All I had was a $5 bill. And I put my last $5 in there, and that was my lunch money. Nobody knowed what I was doing. They wouldn't have thought $5, big deal. So I gave my money, I preached, got all worked up and sweaty, and I left. I was leaving the church. I was out in the parking lot. There was a lot of people there. And this fellow come up to me, he was a deacon. He said, he shook my hand, and guess what he had in his hand to give to me? $5 bill. And did I make any money? No, but that was it was a sort of, I thought, a test. Are you willing to give up your last money? And God gave me back my lunch money, and I was happy. But I didn't do that. I didn't do it thinking, oh, they'll give me, because they didn't take me up no offer or nothing like that. I wasn't looking for no money, but I got my money back, and that was to show me that whatever I do, if I do the right thing, God will take care of me. He'll do the same thing for y'all. Yes, he will. Yes, he will. And it says here, we are not to engage in giving as a self-congratulatory activity, as though our left hand was praising our right hand for giving. I ain't never heard it put like that. Your left hand praising your right hand for what you're giving. But we can give ourselves a hand clap, but that's not that much. Okay, Miss Melinda, you go ahead and read your chapter 6, verse 5.
And when thou prayest, thou shalt not be as the hypocrites are, for they love to pray, standing in the synagogues and in the corners of the streets, that they may be seen of men. Verily I say unto you, they have their reward. But thou, when thou prayest, enter into thy closet, and when thou hast shut thy door, pray to thy Father which is in secret, and thy Father which seeth in secret shall reward thee openly. But when ye pray, use not vain repetitions, as the heathen do, for they think that they shall be heard for their much speaking. Be not ye therefore like unto them, for your Father knoweth what things ye have need of before you ask. After this manner therefore pray ye, Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, in earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread.
Okay, you finish yours. Now, did that right there ring a bell, what she's just reading? That's the prayer that Sister Penny has us say sometimes, the Lord's Prayer.
And this vain, is that not chanting? Or there's that vain repetition?
Yeah, if you do the same thing over and over.
For the same things over and over, but I don't.
Well, no, there's nothing wrong with asking.
Well, me too, but Darlene, just now, it's chanting. That you do that, the Bible talking about. Because I didn't know, because that just hit me right now, that that's what they mean, that vain repetition.
Well, see, some sort of religion, they do that chanting. They sit and they chant, and chanting ain't going to get nothing nowhere. Yeah. Well, the chanting would be meaningless. Yeah, they're just. Yeah, they're not. It's not like a meaningful prayer. Okay, Brooke, you finish the part there that you got.
And forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. Amen. For if ye forgive men their trespasses, your heavenly Father will also forgive you. But if ye forgive not men their trespasses, neither will your Father forgive your trespasses. Moreover, when we fast, be not as the hypocrites of a sad countenance, for they disfigure their faces, that they may appear unto men to fast. Verily I say unto you, they have their reward. But thou, when thou fastest, anoint thy head and wash thy face, that thou appear not unto men to fast, but unto thy Father which is in secret, and thy Father which seeth in secret shall reward thee openly.
I didn't know I split that up. I knew I split it up, but I didn't know I split it up like that. That was my, you know, how many of y'all remember, or maybe you don't, Brother Bush that came here? He come to the old church. Did he come here? Okay. But he come over to the old church. And Brother Bush lived all the way down in Morristown, somewhere down there. He would drive up here to church, as far as I know, every time he came. He had enough gas in his car to get him here. And one night in the middle of winter, oh, it was cold. And we got done. The church was done. I was out in the parking lot, and I seen him out there. He put these coveralls on. And I said, what are you doing? And his car didn't have no heat in it. And he would come up here with no gas to use to get home. But now he didn't come looking for gas. He prayed at the chicken coops down there. That's what I remember him telling that. He had a bunch of chicken coops. He'd get up there and praying. And I've never seen a man twirl like he did. You say, what's the big deal? Get up here and, I wish I had a video of him. He would spin just like that. And when he got done spinning, he walked straighter in line than I could walk now. He didn't wobble one bit. Now, you'd be so dizzy you'd fall down. And he would, I mean, that was his thing was to show you that it wasn't nothing he was doing. God put the twirl on him. I loved old Brother Bush. Yeah. And I thought, how many people, if they had to go out and put on coveralls to keep from freezing to drive home, and maybe wouldn't have, I'd always give him money for gas. But no, he didn't come asking for money. No. And if I hadn't give him money, he'd got gas some other way. I know that. But I always gave him money. And to him, that was a big deal. And it wasn't no big deal to me, but it was to him. And, you know, and see, nobody even knowed I did that. I do that out in the parking lot. See, that's what I'm talking about on this giving in secret, holding it up. Hey, look, I'm giving you gas money. I could have done that, but no, I didn't. I'm not bragging on me. Don't think I am. Yeah, go ahead. Mm-hmm. See, and people might doubt that happening like that, but that's the way it happens. Yeah. Yeah, it's amazing the way God, but we got to step out on the faith ladder and have faith that God's going to do something. And don't sit there and think, can he? Just know that he will. And he did, yeah. Jesus taught his disciples not to pray with the motive hypocrites had to be seen from their piety. The word hypocrite comes, okay, here's where the word hypocrite comes from the Greek term actor. Makes sense, don't it? Yeah, because they're acting. They really are. I've never figured out these people that act. When I say that, they come to church all the time, and they haven't. Their life's not right with God, and they're pretending. And I don't know. If I was pretending, I'd be at home right now. I wouldn't be pretending nothing. I wouldn't be here. Yeah, I'd just stay at the house. But actor, and that's one who hides behind a mask. There you go. That's what they do, ain't it? Jesus said those who made a public display of their praying to impress others with their religious devotion were pretenders. We don't want to be a pretender, do we? No. Jesus said their only reward was the satisfaction they derived from being seen and praised as a pious person. Oh, mercy. How'd you like to say, well, you've got your reward as a pious person? And pious, you know what that means, right? Somebody thinks they're a big wheel. Big shot, yeah. And a big wheel, too, same thing. But they receive no reward from God because they're acting. You say, yeah, but they did this. They prayed, okay, they prayed, but they was up there trying to get a big deal in public. That's not what the praying's about. The praying is when you can get in your house and get alone with God, and nobody's there, and nobody knows nothing about what you're doing or what you're saying, and you get a hold of God in there by yourself. Now that's when you'll see something from God. Jesus engaged in public prayers to be heard by others when his praying served the purpose of glorifying God. It's different than if he's trying to get something. No, he was doing it to glorify God. His example teaches that there are appropriate times and places for Christians to offer public prayers. Well, yeah, surely they are. But it's not the deal like we're talking about, trying to get, to be a hypocrite. And we don't want to play that part of the hypocrite. And people that don't go to church love to use the word hypocrite. They'll say, wow, that old hypocrite you got going up there. I had somebody tell me one time, they wouldn't come in here because we had these two hypocrites going here. I said, okay, so what you're telling me is those two hypocrites, they sit on the second row. No, not you. It's been a long time ago. And I said, so those two hypocrites are closer to God than you are. And they got their eyes got that big. I said, well, they're in church and almost on the front row. I said, where does the hypocrite need to be? They need to be here so they can get their life turned over to God. If we expelled all the hypocrites, we might lose a lot of people. Jesus recommended private prayer. That's what it's talking about, because it offered to God secretly, with no thought of what others might think about our praying. Secret prayer can be very effective for obtaining God's answers to our prayers. Oh yeah, praying in secret, we can be honest with God about our own needs and the needs of others. Now, you agree with that, don't you? If you're at home praying by yourself, nobody knows what you're doing or saying, then you can say anything. And if you're praying up here around everybody, you might say, well, I don't know if I want to say that or not, if you're thinking. If you're praying, you don't need to really be thinking, if that makes sense. Thinking can get us in the wrong avenue, I guess. Okay, religious fasting. Okay, Brooke read about that. That's something our church used to do. I guess I'm ashamed to say that. Pastor Hagee always would get people to fast on a certain day. And we've not been doing that. Those things we need to pick back up, and that's one of them. Religious fasting is abstention. Abstention? I never would have got that. Abstention from food or drink, or both, either partially or completely, to devote oneself to prayer. Yeah, and and I say we as people, you talk about fasting. Okay, we're going to fast on Monday. we're already thinking about what we can't eat Monday. Really. And if somebody told you you couldn't eat nothing, in 30 minutes you'd be starved to death. That's the truth. Because we're used to it. We're used to having the food right there, and that's but you know what? You can go without eating. I had a preaching buddy of mine who had a church up in West Virginia. I used to go run whole revivals at his church. And every year, like in January, he did a fast for 30 days or maybe 40. He started the year out with a big long fast. Didn't eat nothing. Now, he did buy a big tub of ice cream. I never seen one that big. And he'd make like these milkshakes, and he'd drink some of them. But he didn't eat nothing. He'd done that for a month. The name of his church was PIE, P-I-E, Church of God. They lived right on a creek. And I stayed in there in the bedroom. I could raise that window and hear that water running. It's like I was at Gatlinburg. I loved it. I liked it up there. Now that was in the mountains. That was up there where the coal miners live. Okay, let's see where that. Religious fact. Okay. So we have to self-examine ourselves. We have to confess. On meditation, in the Old Testament, fasting is always associated with grief and repentance or times of crisis. But it don't have to be that now. The only fast prescribed by the law of Moses for all the Israelites is once a year, from sunset to sunset on the Day of Atonement. However, the Jews in Jesus' time had established their own schedules for fasting, and there's no prescribed times for fasting for us Christians in the New Testament. And a lot of people say, well, I'm glad. I'm glad we didn't have to do that. Well, you don't have to do it. It's voluntary. It's something you want to do, just like praying. Something like praying. Fasting for a Christian is purely voluntary. Jesus taught that fasting can have an appropriate place in one's life. It can, provided it's done with the right motive. Fasting, like praying and giving, is not to be done, none of these, for public attention. Amen. Everything's, you do it in private to God. We are commanded by Christ to live so that people will see, okay, here's what he wants us to do. To live so that people will see our good deeds, and we'll be a big shot in Bloomingdale. That ain't what it says, is it? No. He wants us to live that people can see our good deeds and glorify our Father which is in heaven. So it ain't really, we're doing it, but it's for him, right? At the same time, we're not to give, we're not to pray, we're not to fast, to do other good deeds for self-exaltation. And, sometimes that happens. Any spiritual activity which, by its very nature, should draw us nearer to God, must never be used to draw attention to ourselves. Deeds that would be holy by their very nature become corrupted and profane when we do them with unholy motives. And all we say and do as Christians, the issue is, are we living for Christ and his glory or for our glory? That's a little self-examination that we need to do for ourselves. Are we living for things temporal or eternal? What's it say? Well, okay, I'm getting ready to say that. Okay. Who's next? Sorry. Okay, you read verse 19 through 21.
Lay up not yourself treasures upon earth, where moth and rust doeth corrupt, and where thieves break through and steal. But lay up yourself treasures in heaven, where neither moth nor rust nor corrupt, and where thieves do not break through nor steal. For where your treasure is, there will your heart be also.
So where our treasure is, that's where our heart is also. Okay? In thinking about these words of Jesus, keep in mind that he ministered mainly to the common people of Israel, just the regular folks. These people who made up about 85% of the population, that's almost everybody, ain't it? They were extremely poor. So living from day to day on what they could earn and have only the bare necessities of life. So they were working every day just to try to get some food to eat for that day. So that you hear about this laying up not treasures, and yeah, they're thinking, what treasures he's talking about? We ain't got no treasures. But laying up treasures on earth was not something they had the financial means to do. They didn't. But Jesus did not want them to be excessively concerned about this, seeing that material possessions are not secure and cannot make anyone's life secure. And that's true today. We can have all kinds of stuff. We can have a load of money and all that. And, I lived up in Bloomingdale. I'm a Bloomingdale guy all my life, pretty much. But my mom's house burnt to the ground. Everything was destroyed. And you're sitting there looking at when it was done, started raining. I was standing out in the yard. And that everybody had left. I was about the only one left. I was standing out there. They had never brought my dad's body out of the house. And that was the last thing he did. They brought him out. And so my viewing of him was a crumpled body in a body bag and put in the coroner's thing. But what I'm getting at, anything that Mom had got destroyed. Anything there just got burned up. It was gone. So if she'd had everything laid up in that, she wouldn't have had much of nothing. It would have been gone. Well, the good thing was we was able to rebuild her house through her insurance, and she got a new house. And then she told me she couldn't live in that house. That was something else. But she ended up living there. I said, you're going to have to. Sell it if you don't want to live there. But she got over that. You know, a lot of times things happen when, what would you call it, disaster happens. We think maybe our thinking gets clouded, and hers got clouded, but she sort of got it straightened out after a while. It took a good while. Yeah. I don't know what you... Well, when that house caught on fire, it was an older house, and she was in the back bedroom. Dad was in the living room right there in front of the picture window. Of course, he's in a hospital bed. He can't move or get up. That's where the fire started. His hospital bed started this fire. They investigated. Where you plug it in, that started the fire. At that time, there's 200 or 300 people a year burn up like that, but they don't tell that. Anyway, Mom said that she heard Dad in a calm voice holler for her. She was in the bed back there. Well, the whole place was on fire. He wouldn't have been talking in a calm voice. And she got up and went in there, and she would. That fire marshal told me 2 more minutes and I'd had a double funeral. Mom wouldn't have got out of that house. And I told Mom, I said, Mom, an angel led you out of that house, or you would not have been alive. And she got in there, and the whole place is on fire, and she went out she can get out the front door, she went out the back door. And as she got out the back door and got in the yard, it was like a movie scene. She had a big picture window, you know what I'm talking about. It blew out like you see in the movies. And that happened when she got outside. And she didn't couldn't think about what was going on. And but an angel let her out of that house. I told her, I said, yeah, the angel got you out of this house. I said, Dad would not have been, he wouldn't have been hollering in no calm voice. He'd have been very frantic. And he got took out by the smoke. And smoke inhalation, whatever you call it. That took him out. And I told her, I said, he didn't have time to suffer. He got took out like that. Of course, we didn't get to see him. It wasn't no deal that it was not an open casket. So you never know what your last viewing is going to be with your loved one. You say, how you know? Because I'm telling you right now, I didn't get one. Yeah, right. Yes. I mean, you don't want to go like for years and don't talk to whoever in your family. Who you hurting? Hurting yourself. And normally when you got a family and all, any good-sized families has got differences. And I mean, some of them are big differences. And some of them ain't talked in years. And over probably nothing. It wouldn't be worth that anyway. Yeah, I saw him on the street. Yeah, I think he quit videoing when he seen me. I had to park way up the street when I got there. They had every fire truck that they could get up there, but all that was too late. When I finally got up from where I lived, you could see a big giant ball. The fire was going through the center of the house up into the sky. So, I drove around to see from the bottom, Bloomingdale, to see how bad it was. And I saw how bad it was. And everybody, I knew all them guys on the fire department. And when any of them seen me, they all turned away. They wouldn't even speak to me because they knew what the deal was. And none of them knew how to say anything. So when they started avoiding me, I knew that it wasn't good. It wasn't good. I'd went to preach in Bristol that night. Went and preached, come home, went to bed. Thought everything was okay. Didn't even make it to morning. It happened sometime in the middle of the night. And my world got turned upside down that quick. And yours can too. Maybe not a house burning down, it could be something else. We just don't know. And the truth is, no amount of money can guarantee our life will be secure against the unavoidable hazards of life and eventual death. How about that now? No amount of money can guarantee that our life will be secure against the unavoidable hazards of life and our eventual death. There's one thing about it, we all going to die. Unless we go up with the rapture, we all going to die. It's appointed unto man wants to die, and after this the judgment. We will die. Now some are dying earlier than others. Some live a real long time. Nobody knows. Nobody can tell you how long you're going to live. We just know that life is short. Think about it. I'm 72 years old now, and I get a lot of time to sit and think over here at the house, and I can think back over my life. It's went through a lot of things, but I've done quit climbing to the top of the mountain. I guess I'm going down now. I know that. You only have so much time to be here. And I'm on the short side of 40, or I don't know, short side of something. So we got to be doing what we can do for it now. While Jesus did not on this occasion speak specifically about how to lay up treasures in heaven, it is likely that most of his audience understood that he spoke about living pleasing to God and blessing others. They had to realize that, because they didn't know them people had money in the bank and all that stuff. Jesus would have He would have us set our affection, our heart, on things spiritual and eternal. The Apostle Paul wrote to the Colossian Christians, set your affection on things above, not on things on the earth. There you go. If we choose to love earthly treasures, the focus of our living will be on material possessions, not on loving and serving God and serving others to the glory of God. I was watching one of these Christmas movies on Hallmark Channel the other day, and this girl, she was a granddaughter of this rich guy, and she's going to go on a trip. She come out of the house, and there was a Mercedes, a Corvette, I can't think of it. I think it may have had a Jaguar. The fancy Toyota. Had all these fancy vehicles out there. How many could they drive at one time? She got her pick, and she told the driver that drove her around, she said she wanted to drive his car. It was just something like James and Ruby's got, one like that. And he said, that's my car. She said, I'll trade you the Maserati. That's what it was. I'll let you drive the Maserati while I'm gone, and I'll drive it. He said, here's the keys. Yeah, he was swapping his regular car for a big fancy car. And she didn't care, but she didn't care about the fancy car. All in fancy cars, and I mean, there was a lot. They have all these different brands sitting out there. Yeah, Mike. Because she bought a Jaguar. You. Well, okay. Now, that's a lot of money. And if you got the money to buy it, that's fine. Yeah. And here's the sure thing. If you buy one of them cars, you're going to drive it no longer than my old car. Well, mine might need a little fixing up to keep up with you, but the thing is, yeah, because of that, yeah, it don't get drove. That's it. It ain't been drove in probably 5 months.
They need to be drove though, or they'll go downhill.
It's done went downhill. I can't start it. And but I was going to do all that when I get my foot out of this thing, and I don't know when that's going to be. Hopefully, I go back to the foot doctor December 13th or something. But I've got a new sore up on the front. Well, it's not real new, but it is new, and it's not been getting better. So it's got to start getting better, or I don't know what they're going to do. But is it a sin to have a good car? No. If you want a Mercedes, is that wrong? No. And here's the way I always looked at it. I like all my friends have the best cars you can get because I might need a ride. And I just shouldn't ride in a new car. I can ride in an old car, but I'd like to ride in a brand new, and that's good too. And if somebody's got the money to pay for it, go ahead and do it. But don't take from God to pay for a car. You do that car probably won't last that long. Oh, goodness. Okay. Who's next? Are you next, Darlene? Okay, read your two. We're running out of time. We ain't going to get done with all this today. We'll have to finish up next week.
The light of the body is the eye. If therefore thine eye be single, thy whole body shall be full of light. But if thine eye be evil, thy whole body shall be full of darkness. If therefore thy light that is in thee darkness, how great is that darkness? No man can serve two masters, for either he will hate the one and love the other, or else he will hold to the one and despise the other. Ye cannot serve God and a mammon.
And mammon is money. And Jesus used the relationship between the eye and the body as an illustration of the relationship between the spiritual light we have and the new life we live. And, It said if you had, how did it put it? Had if your eye had light. How did it say that? If your eye had light, your body would be. Your whole body would be full of light. And if all you saw was darkness, now do you want to live in the dark? I don't know about you. I don't like the dark. I mean, I ain't afraid of the dark, but I still don't like it. When we lived in Churchill, we had a den downstairs, and it was sort of underground. And I was laying down there by myself one night, and the power went off. You couldn't see. It was in my own den. Then I got up and panicked and couldn't walk, and I'm tripping over everything when I finally woke up. And I got out because I was in the dark. That's what the dark would do to you. It'll get you tripping over things, knocking over stuff, tripping, falling. You won't know which way you're going. You want to know which way you're going, don't you? I was laying at least from here to Darlene, as close to the steps to get out of there, and I knew that, and I couldn't get over to it. That's how I turned around. I got in my own basement. So that's what the dark will do. The dark will turn you around. You won't know where you're at, and you can't get loose. You can't find your way out. And it's so easy to people get out of the light and they get into the darkness, and sometimes it might be a little bit at a time. Well, it won't be. It's not no big deal that I quit doing this. Do I have to go to church every Sunday? Yeah, that's sort of something you need to do. You mean I can't just go once a month and show up? Well, you can do that, but that ain't the way you want to do. You end up in the darkness and you'll be doing like me, bumping around that basement, and you won't know where you're at because you're in the dark. And, you know, when I think about all the time that, like church time that we have for people, they come here on Sunday morning and come Wednesday night. And well, I'm busy. That's something people tell us. I'm busy. I can't come on Wednesday because I'm busy. We ain't here over at what, an hour or something like that? 5 hours a week, and a lot of people will watch. How many? 168 hours in a week. Okay. And we're talking about 5 hours a week. And you know, devoting ourselves to get out of the dark and into the light. And you know, I think here last week or so we've had sun shining. Well, I hear this. I ain't been outside, but you know the sun's shining. It's pretty, and you can see what you're doing. You don't need a flash. Do you need a flashlight when the sun's out there shining? Get out there in the dark and see if you need a flashlight. Yeah, that's right. When you're working on them cars and get up under the hood, you sort of need a light in there, don't you? You don't want to do that in the dark. You might get in and put the fuel pump where it don't go, or try to, because you can't see, and you got to be able to see, and that's the way it is with us. I mean, you know, the devil knows that we don't like the dark. He knows that, so he tries to slip the dark in on us a little bit at a time. He don't try to throw you in a dungeon and lock a door. He would if he could, but he knows that really won't work. He tries to slip us in just a little bit at a time, just a tad. And you get used to, I think, was it somebody sung a song, Getting Used to the Dark? Who sang it? McCamey's? Somebody, yeah, getting you. All right, Wilma's got the copy of it. But they sing that song, Getting Used to the Dark. And the more dark you get used to, that's the more the devil will slip you into a little more darkness. And now he's got time. He ain't necessarily in a hurry like we get. He'll take his time, and he'll try to slip us in just a little bit more. and then a little tad more. Next thing you know, we're knee deep in dark. And we're sitting around looking, how did I get here? And then all of a sudden they flip the switch, and it's dark as everything. And then you start stumbling around like I was talking about a minute ago. You can stumble around in the dark, and you'll bump and you'll fall and you'll trip and you'll everything else when you can't see what you're doing. That's why we need to be in, don't get used to the dark like that song I'm talking about there. That's it. Well, now what we'll do, we'll just, we'll finish this. We got half of it we ain't got done. We'll finish that up next week. I knew we'd run short of time as today. But we don't want to get used to the dark, right? No. We want light. We want to be able to see what we're doing. And I don't see so good anymore anyway. And I get over here at the house, I've got in the kitchen, I can't just turn the light on. I got them spotlight things, and I try when I'm reading my Bible, reading the daytime, where I can open the door and turn the light on and get all the light right there on my chair, because I need the light to see. If I'm over in the dark trying to read, forget that. It's hard enough if I'm in the light. Yeah.